What would you do if a law was passed that made praying to God a crime? What if obeying God meant being thrown alive into a pit filled with hungry lions? This is the incredible true story of a man who chose faith over fear, a man who faced death without trembling, and witnessed one of the greatest miracles ever recorded in the Bible. This is the story of Daniel in the lion's den. Long ago, after the mighty kingdom of Babylon fell, a new ruler arose. His name was Darius. King Darius ruled over a vast empire stretching across many lands and nations. To govern his kingdom, he appointed 120 officials known as satraps and placed 3 administrators above them. Among these administrators was a man named Daniel. Daniel was no ordinary man. Though he was now an old man, he was known throughout the kingdom for his wisdom, honesty, and faithfulness. He worked diligently and never accepted bribes. He never lied. He never cheated. And because God had given him extraordinary wisdom, King Darius planned to place Daniel over the entire kingdom. But not everyone was happy. The other officials became jealous. Why should Daniel receive such honor? Why should a foreigner rule over them? Their jealousy quickly turned to hatred. They searched desperately for something wrong with Daniel. They examined his work. They investigated his records. They watched his actions. But they found nothing. No corruption, no dishonesty, no mistakes. Daniel was completely trustworthy. Finally, they said to one another, "We will never find any fault in Daniel unless it has something to do with his faith in God." And so they began to plot against him. The jealous officials gathered together and approached King Darius. They flattered the king with smooth words, "Your Majesty, may you live forever." Then they proposed a new law. For the next 30 days, anyone who prayed to any god or any person except King Darius would be thrown into a den of lions. The king liked the idea. Without realizing it was a trap, he signed the law. According to the laws of the Medes and Persians, once a decree was signed, it could never be changed. The trap was set. Now all eyes turned toward Daniel. Would he stop praying? Would fear finally silence his faith? When Daniel learned that the law had been signed, he did something remarkable. He did not panic. He did not complain. He did not hide. Instead, he returned to his home. As he had done every day before, Daniel opened the windows facing Jerusalem. Then he knelt down. 3 times that day he prayed to God. He thanked God. He worshiped God. He trusted God, even though he knew the punishment could be death. Daniel feared God more than he feared lions. The jealous officials were watching. The moment they saw Daniel praying, they rushed away with excitement. They hurried to the king. "Your Majesty," they said, "did you not sign a decree stating that anyone who prays to any god except you must be thrown into the lion's den?" The king answered, "Yes, the decree stands." Then they revealed their accusation. "Daniel has ignored your command. He continues to pray to his God 3 times every day." The king's heart sank. Suddenly he realized he had been tricked. He respected Daniel. He trusted Daniel. He did not want him harmed. All day long he searched for a way to save him, but the law could not be changed. As evening approached, the king had no choice. Daniel would be thrown into the lion's den. Soldiers escorted Daniel to the place of execution. Before Daniel stood a deep stone pit. Inside waited powerful lions. Their growls echoed through the darkness. The king looked at Daniel with sorrow and said, "May your God, whom you serve continually, rescue you." Then Daniel was lowered into the den. A large stone was rolled across the entrance. The king sealed it with his own signet ring. No one could interfere. No one could rescue Daniel. The night of testing had begun. Back at the palace, King Darius could not sleep. Food was brought to him, but he refused to eat. Musicians came to entertain him, but he sent them away. The king spent the entire night worrying about Daniel. Meanwhile, inside the lion's den, something miraculous was happening. God had sent his angel. The angel stood among the lions. Their mouths were shut. Their claws remained still. The hungry beasts could not harm Daniel. All night long, Daniel remained safe under God's protection. At the first light of dawn, King Darius jumped from his bed. He rushed toward the lion's den. His heart pounded with fear and hope. Arriving at the pit, he called out with a trembling voice, "Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to rescue you from the lions?" For a moment, silence filled the air. Then a voice rose from the darkness, a living voice, Daniel's voice. "May the king live forever. My God sent his angel and shut the mouths of the lions. They have not hurt me, because I was found innocent before him." The king was overwhelmed with joy. Daniel was alive. Immediately, King Darius ordered Daniel to be lifted out of the den. The stone was removed. Daniel emerged unharmed. Not a single wound could be found on his body, not one scratch, not one bite, not one mark, because he had trusted completely in God. The miracle was undeniable. Everyone who saw it knew that God had protected his faithful servant. Then King Darius ordered the men who had falsely accused Daniel to be brought forward. The conspirators who had plotted against him were thrown into the lion's den. This time, no angel stopped the lions. The judgment was swift. The evil they had planned for Daniel returned upon their own heads. After witnessing the miracle, King Darius issued a new decree throughout his empire. He declared, "People everywhere must fear and revere the God of Daniel, for he is the living God and he endures forever. His kingdom will never be destroyed. He rescues and saves. He performs signs and wonders in heaven and on earth." And so Daniel prospered throughout the reign of King Darius. The man who chose faith over fear became a testimony to generations yet to unborn. If Daniel's faith inspired you, remember this: your lions may be different, but God's power has not changed. Trust him, pray continually, stand firm, and never forget, the God who protected Daniel is still on the throne today.